The following podcast contains spoilers and rude words. We watch TV. We watch TV. Hello everybody and welcome back for another fun-filled round of We Watched a Thing. This week I'm joined once again by one of my favourite people in the world. Yes, there's that little smile that I love. It's my friend and yours, Mr. Sam Hurley from Movie Reviews and 20 Qs. How you doing, mate?
I'm doing great, man. The bat signal went up, and I thought to myself, somebody's in need. And then I got the desperate message from Billy of, hey, you know how you have thousands and thousands of listeners, and we really want to improve the popularity of our podcast. Can you please come back? And I just went, I am vengeance. So now I'm here.
No, you're one of the best people around because if I ever get stuck for a guest, I know I can always hit you up at the drop of a hat.
Yeah. It's like I've got too much to say and I want the entire world to know that.
I know. In fact, I accidentally paused when I introduced you because I went to say Sam Hurley from We Watched a Thing. Just rolls off the tongue. No, but if you ever want to step into Topher's shoes, mate, the spot's yours, buddy. They're
big shoes to fill, but that's good to hear, Billy.
Big shoes, but not as big as his head.
It's true. It's a valid point.
All right, well, let's get into it then. This is exciting. I was hoping to get to this one. I actually had tickets booked for opening day, and then unfortunately COVID struck, so here I am 2 weeks late. But you still saw this opening day, didn't you?
Absolutely did.
Have you only seen it the once?
I've only seen it the once. We are being hit by the virus for the first time in any substantial ways or means down here in New Zealand, so we are trying to avoid going out in public as much as possible. So I managed to sneak out on the premise that I'd wear a mask the entire time. I'd socially distance myself, all that sort of fun stuff, and managed to see it on opening night though.
Nice. Well, let's get into it then. We are, of course, talking about The Batman, which is a 2022 American superhero film based on the DC Comics character Batman. It's a reboot of the Batman film franchise, is the way it's described on Wikipedia. It was directed by Matt Reeves, who also wrote the screenplay with Peter Craig, and it stars Robert Pattinson, Zoë Kravitz, Paul Dano, Jeffrey Wright, John Turturro, Peter Sarsgaard, Andy Serkis, and Colin Farrell. And what is it about?
It's about B-Dizzle! What is it about B-Dizzle? I'm not falling for this B-Dizzle. It's your turn to do a plot.
What is it about, Sam?
No.
All right, we'll play by your rules, which on your show is the last person to have watched it, and I did get to this last night. So here we go. This is a film about the Batman, the titular Batman, played by Robert Pattinson, who literally this film completely does away with the origin story. This is not about becoming Batman. This is about an already established Batman. There's literally zero origin story or explanation of any world building at all in this film. And it's about him going up against the Riddler, who is on a rampage against the elite of Gotham, trying to get rid of corruption in the city. That's basically it. Honestly, it's an insanely simple premise for a 3-hour film, I think. Like, the actual bones of the plot are very, very basic, really. There's not many twists or turns in this film.
You reckon?
Absolutely, I do. There's not one moment in this film where I went, oh, that's new. It's pretty straightforward premise.
Okay, it's a pretty straightforward premise, but I feel like the story is quite twisty and turny.
Really?
Well, okay, here's the thing. Like, once you've seen the cast list and you know who the villains are, it's easy to piece out who the bad guys are. But I feel like the point that we get to, we know that Riddler's the bad guy. Of course we know that. It's no surprise. So when you see Paul Dano pop up here and there, we know it's him. But I feel like why he's targeting these people, how he's going about it, and then certainly a large part of the last act took me by surprise. I'll put it that way.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Okay. All right, cool. I mean, I'm not saying I didn't enjoy the film. I totally did. But not at one point was I surprised by anything in the film.
Okay, cool. Yeah. I know, I even got to admit it. Like, I'm normally the guy that sits there and goes, why is everybody not noticing that Bruce Willis is dead? You know? Like, I forgot which I think I talked about when I was on here last talking about Sixth Sense. Like, there's a lot of them. Even Usual Suspects, Kaiser Sose, I was one of those people that was like, this guy's the bad guy. But I feel like that was through cultural osmosis of everyone around me telling me in subtle ways, like, you'll never believe the twist ending, that I was like, oh, I'm going to look out for this. The first time I watched Usual Suspects. But for this, there was at least a decent couple of twists that made me go, oh, wow.
Wow, that's interesting. Maybe it's just because I got to it so late and was expecting more, but both my wife and I, who saw it with me, we walked out going like, it was good, but like no surprises in that film.
I feel like maybe I'm playing it up a little bit more. I feel like the one main one I had was when they actually flooded the city. Like when he had a grandmaster scheme, I sort of knew what that was, but I was quite surprised that it was as grandiose because I feel like more because this film is quite grounded in its reality. And
definitely.
You're not having that giant world-ending sort of stuff that you typically get in a lot of DCEU and a lot of Marvel films. You're actually having like, this close, intimate battle between these two and, they're taking down all these different people and stuff. So to have that giant splash of an ending was just like, wow, this is quite surprising.
Oh, that's true. I think you really nailed one of the things I like. I mean, we're right into it at this point.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
You really nailed one of the things I really liked about this film is that this is not one of those intimate battles between Batman and the villain. This is a detective story. Yes, there is some cat and mouse there, but this is not one-on-one Batman chasing the Riddler. This is more of a mental deduction game, I think, which I personally really loved about this film.
Yeah, same, because I can't remember what episode of my podcast I did this, but I went on a bit of a rant about how action Batman has been done to death. We've seen campy action Batman, we've seen over-the-top action Batman, we've seen... grounded, gritty, realistic action Batman. Like, action Batman for me has just been done. And anyone that's familiar with the graphic novels knows that he's nicknamed the world's greatest detective. Yeah. So, like, if your whole thing in life is I want to see action, and that's all I want to see, and that's what you go into this film expecting or hoping, because you're like, it's Batman, you're not going to get it. You're not going to get it. And I feel richer for it because I feel like they've actually gone out there and made quite a cohesive film that in a lot of ways is like Seven, but lacking the horror. And in a lot of the ways is a Batman film, but you're right, lacking the origin story, lacking the mother's pills, coming off her neck and the gunshot outside the theater and all that. And it's so much better for it. It's like the most recent reboot of Spider-Man where they're like, you all know he gets bit by a spider. We don't need to show that. It's the same in this. And I sort of appreciate it because going back to the graphic novels again, there's a Frank Miller series called Batman Year One where we basically pick up around Batman and he's only just started doing what he's doing and he's wearing a funky suit and not all the police like him. In fact, they all think he's a bit of a knob and as it goes on, they start to grow an appreciation for him. And I feel like it is because they acknowledge that he's been doing this for 3 years. And I feel like that's an awesome way to drop into this and be like, yes, he's been established. Yes, he's fought criminals. Yes, everybody's terrified of him. They know who he is. There's still some people on the police force that hate him, despise him, don't really agree with what he's doing. At the same time, we're all getting a whole bunch of other people that are like, love and respect him because he's beaten the crap out of criminals and they wish they could, but if they've sworn, to uphold the law type stuff. So, yeah, I like it. I like that we've got such a unique take on Batman. I get the criticisms that a lot of people have, which is, they've just tried to make it as gritty as hell. They've tried to make it grittier than all the other ones. And yeah, they have. But at the same time, they've done away with a lot of the fluff. So, yeah.
You know what? I mean, for starters, I really liked the film too. I didn't love it. I do have some issues with it. But what I do like about it, I really, really, really like. But I actually disagree with that criticism. I do not think this is the grittiest Batman. I think it's the most grounded and the most real. I liked the fact that there's not a single vat of acid to be seen. Like, Paul Dano's Riddler is just he's Michael Douglas in Falling Down, effectively. Yes. He's just a regular dude who's kind of had it. And yeah, he's a conspiracy theory nutter, and I absolutely adore the kind of YouTube scene in towards the end of the third act where he's like, "Hey guys, thanks for liking and subscribing."
You want to go to my Patreon?
But I don't think this is the grittiest Batman. I think while it's the most grounded, I actually think there's probably more fun in this film actually than I was expecting. And I think there's more fun in this film than I would say there is in any of the Nolan verse.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. The Nolan verse, I mean, they're good. They're obviously some of the greatest films ever made, and but some of the humor comes out of mocking like the Batman voice. Like there's not much in the way of other humor. Yeah, it's just played for like deeply comedic humor.
Yeah, agreed. I think this actually strikes a really nice balance of being fun while still being grounded. And let me say this: I went in there being like, "Oh man, 3 hours. Am I really?" Like, come on, really? Like, everybody knows that if anyone's a fan of a short film, it's me.
Yep.
I did not feel the runtime of this film at all.
For the first time in my... Well, for the first time that I can remember, I'll put it that way. For the first time that I can remember, I checked my phone multiple times during this film.
You did?
I did. And I checked it in about an hour in, and I looked at my phone and went, I've got 2 more hours of this. Oh my God, that's amazing. You know? Like, I was that invested in having such a good time that I was like, this is really awesome. I can't believe I have 2 more hours of this. And then broke the cardinal sin of turned around in the movie theater, looked at my mate Kahu, who's also on my podcast, and said, can you believe that's Colin Farrell? And he was like, what? And he was like, we've got 2 more hours of this. I was ecstatic. I was stoked. It's been a rough year as far as movie watching goes. You know, it's been, for like this year and most of the last year. You know, I've had to watch some absolutely horrible films, and to go and watch something purely class, well, in a lot of ways, I was so happy.
Yeah, I mean, I've certainly felt the runtime of a lot of films this year, but I was amazed that with this film I didn't. I think the pacing is actually very, very well done.
Yeah.
I do think, I'm not sure that it warrants its runtime. Like I think the story is actually quite basic and is told quite quickly, and I do think that there is some filler in the film, particularly towards the third act. But I didn't feel the runtime at all. I didn't, I'm even a toilet goer in films.
Yeah.
And I was able to hold on for the whole 3 hours. Even though I had several beers in me, I just didn't feel it.
Same. As someone who has a bladder the size of an acorn, I was quite surprised to be able to hold on. Like there was the action scene, or the main action scene, which is the car chase.
The car chase, yeah.
Oh, so good. So absolutely good. But
that was a great scene.
After that scene, I was like, now's your time. I was like, nah, no, it's not. Just hold on, man. You can do this. Yeah.
I mean, we've been talking for like nearly 15 odd minutes and haven't really gotten into the crux of it. So let's do this thing. Let's start with the cast. Are you one of the people who, from the very first mention of the Pattinson, were you excited about that casting, or were you cautiously optimistic, or were you not keen at all? Like, where were you on R-Pats before going in and then after having seen it?
I really enjoy R-Pats. I am not one of the subscribers of he's the Twilight guy, just like I'm not a subscriber of the Radcliffe being the Potter guy.
Radcliffe fucking rocks.
Hey, Radcliffe is terrible. Man.
He's terrible in the Harry Potter films. He's so bad in them.
Yeah.
But like he was a kid. You know, like,
he was a kid, but
R-Pats actually outacts Radcliffe in Harry Potter, which is the funniest thing of it.
But I love that. Like, there's the holy trio of those two and Elijah Wood, which are in these massive franchises. Yeah. They could have done massive franchise films for the rest of their lives, and then have just chosen to go out there and just do some of the weirdest stuff.
Yeah.
And I mentioned it on my podcast. There's a part there where you see a shot of a diner. It said Good Times, and I loved him in Good Time. A lot of people hate that film with a passion. You know,
right.
It's by the guys that did Uncut Gems.
The Safdie brothers.
Safdie brothers. It's got that intensity, that real horribleness about it, but it's like he's just this one man on a mission to try and rescue his brother in that film. You know, I'm not going to go into it because, like, if you're into really weird, harrowing, almost like the Odyssey, but told in a New York setting, it's like, it's real grimy. Reminds you of the Scorsese films of the 70s. It's like, and I loved him in it. I thought he was amazing. When he popped up in Tenet, I thought, okay, there's our future James Bond. There's our future Bruce Wayne. It's right there. Like, he's just done his audition tape to be that. And then when he came into this film, I'll say it, I liked him as Batman. I liked the conflict. I liked the quieter scenes. I didn't really like how much of an arsehole he was to Alfred, but, is what it is. But the only criticism I have about his acting performance, and something I wish we'd done with this character, is I wish they'd made him just a playboy, like almost like a Jack Sparrow, almost like a flirty, on the verge of being creepy, like persona that he puts on. Like when we see him show up at the funeral, I would have loved it if R-Pats just popped down. I was like, hey, how you going? Hey, what's up? But like for a brief second before that, he's like, oh, here we go. I've got to put on the Bruce Wayne. You know what I mean? And then he gets out and he's just like, hey,
I totally agree with you. And the thing about it is that thematically, I completely understand the choice.
Yeah.
Because that's what this film is about. And I must honestly, the one thing I don't love about the film is I do think that the screenplay is a bit weak. And that's where I say I don't think it warrants its runtime. For a 3-hour film, this is not a film that really has much to say or much going on beyond the surface of the story. There's very little character development in this film, which is fine. That's what it is. We all know the character. That's why there's no backstory given. We all know the character. But that's where I don't think it warrants its runtime. And thematically, I get that choice, because what this film is about is the fact that he's, and the Riddler outright says it to him, during the climax where those two meet, I can see that you're actually who you are when you're in the mask, Bruce Wayne is more of a mask for you than Batman is. And one thing I really like that the film does is it finally plays with the concept that while Batman is a hero, Bruce Wayne is not. Bruce Wayne is not a hero. He could choose to really, really help his city. He has the funds to actually, Gotham is a slum. The entire city of Gotham is the worst place on earth. And he actually has the means to do something about it. But instead, he's just this angry, bitter man who dresses up like a bat and just beats people up. He's actually a bit of a shit bloke.
He is.
I like the fact that this movie finally plays with that, but I agree with you that I missed Playboy Bruce Wayne, and that is where I think R. Patz's acting is not the best. He's best from the nose down. When he's in the cowl, he's incredible. I don't love his hair as Bruce Wayne.
No, there's an emo cat and a half. That is.
Yeah. And so, I agree with you that I don't love the Bruce Wayne we get in this film.
No, I don't. And it's a shame, because I feel like they would have added something different, because, you look at the two previous iterations. Ben Affleck should have been perfect as Bruce Wayne, because Bruce Wayne, Ben Affleck, Affleck early 2000s, before everything went sideways for him, maybe.
He's a fucking dreamboat.
Can't stand Ben Affleck. But the Christian Bale one, he was just playing Patrick Bateman, just American Psycho, this quietly, confidently assured smug. And we kind of want the Bruce Wayne from the Batman animated TV series, which I think is the only time he's been really done that justice of being this billionaire playboy. The only thing I will say, though, to the you could do more of your money thing, we do get a tease at that where, Alfred says the accountants are coming over. If you keep burning for all your money like you're doing, we're going to be broke before you know it. And I like that, because I like the idea that, they clearly establish this relationship between him and Alfred, where Alfred tries to offer him advice and tries to steer him in different directions, and he's clearly just doing whatever the hell he wants to do. And so part of me feels like that's conveyed in the film when, Zoë Kravitz said, or whoever was confronting him about it, and said, you could do more of your money, or maybe it was Alfred sort of thing. It's he's clearly just chosen this path of okay, this is what I need to do. I need to go fly around town, dressed up in a Halloween costume, and just beat the crap out of people.
That's right. It's a choice he's made.
It's a choice he's made. Yeah,
he could be doing so much more to help his city, and in his head, he is by beating people up.
He is.
But if you fight the problem at the source and actually help the community grow, then maybe it won't be a town full of crims. Because honestly, you could throw a stone in Gotham and hit a bad guy. Is the vibe you get from this film?
Yeah, and I do love the way they conveyed and sort of showed to you that the ones with money are also just as bad as the poor. I thought that was pretty cool, finding out about his parents and the Arkhams and everyone that, within the government and the DA and all that sort of stuff. It was quite good to show it's not just the poor people, it's not just the openly out and out gangsters, the Maronis and the Falcones of the world. It's everyone, which I thought was pretty good. It does, you're right in terms of character development. I feel like they just lumped it all on Zoë Kravitz's head, or shoulders, I should say, and man, did she run with it. She was easily the highlight of the film for me. Yeah,
right. Yeah, so she's your best on ground?
Yeah, absolutely. She's a bit of a revelation. At the same time, she knew the assignment. She showed up and knew, I have to be this sizzling yet vulnerable, confident yet broken woman who's on a mission and has to create this role. And it's fascinating how much she brings to this. How Robert Pattinson was able to keep a straight face with her acting in front of him, no idea. Absolutely no idea whatsoever. She's smoldering, and at the same time she's conflicted and intriguing, and like as we find out about her backstory and what's motivating her, you're just like, wow, this is exactly what you want from a Catwoman. Exactly.
Yeah. And she's also not just there for sex appeal either. Like you said, she just instantly, it's just who she is. She has this kind of smoldering on-screen chemistry, but the filmmaker knows, like Matt Reeves knows that, and so he doesn't need to go over the top. This is not one of, like, yes, she's dressed in leather, but I don't feel like that's really highlighted like it has been in some of the other films where it's like, hey, check out this Catwoman.
Exactly. There's no lingering Michael Bay perverted shots on any of the body parts, It's very well.
And she is wonderful. I loved her in Big Little Lies as well, and obviously she's voiced Catwoman before as well in the Lego Batman movie.
Yep.
Yeah, but yeah, I agree that she's fantastic. I don't think there's a bad performance in this film. I think Paul Dano is wonderful with this version of the Riddler, and I really like I said, the groundedness of the characters in this film. I think he's very good with what he has to do. I don't think, like I said, I don't think that story is this film's strong suit, and I don't think he has a lot to work with. He's very one note, but he plays that note well.
Yeah, I found Dano's performance pretty good. Like the Riddler as a character has always been this like sniveling mess of a man who's like a C-list villain. But I mean, most people can name him, but I'd say C-list in terms of the DC universe because, like he's like a knockoff Joker, but without the sociopathy or the intrigue or any of that sort of stuff. Like he just seems like he's the kid at school that gets bummed out in front of the entire class and then comes back to school the next day and like tries to, shoot someone down, and then that person he's trying to shoot down has a way wittier retort, and then he goes away and he comes back the next day, tries to bum out that person again. Like he's that guy, he's that just persistent, annoying, probably going to grow up to be a politician type guy. Like he's just, always got trying to look like he knows what he's talking about, but ultimately no one listens to him. Yeah.
I mean, so where were you on Colin Farrell then, while we're talking villains, as our other villain, the Penguin?
Yeah, I don't think it warranted enough for a TV series, but good on him. He's got that out of it. He's going to spend...
That's curious.
Curious, yeah. I mean...
Is that going to be a prequel or a sequel to this?
I feel like it's going to be a Bridging the Gap sequel. Like I feel like we're going to see the rise of Penguin.
Okay.
That's how I feel. I mean...
okay.
He's basically now in a vacuum of power where he can rise to it and create himself as the most powerful gangster in Gotham. Maybe we'll introduce a couple of other bad guys, and then I feel like we've just gone back to that Gotham TV series that came out in the early 2010s where it was it was the story of all the villains and Gordon.
Yeah.
And so, because I can't imagine Pattinson showing up in the TV series. I can't imagine Zoë Kravitz showing up in the TV series. I feel like it'd be very focused on Colin Farrell, and there's an Arkham TV series coming out as well, so maybe they'll be intertwined.
Yeah, right. I was surprised, and this is probably naive of me. This is the Batman. It's a comic book film. I, for some reason, did not think I was going into a franchise film. I was surprised with the setup to a sequel at the end. It's the one thing that surprised me, because all we've heard is talk about how, the DC is moving towards these kind of smaller bite-sized films that are not part of a larger thing. They're moving away from all that. Like, this is its own thing. The Joker is its own thing. And then at the end, we get a tease for a sequel. And I'm like, well, why the fuck are we doing that? And what does this mean for all of these other franchises? We've already now had another Joker reboot, which again was meant to be standalone, and now I believe they're talking about a sequel to that as well.
Absolutely, yep.
So we're now going to have 3 Jokers across different franchises, with Barry Keoghan in The Batman 2, I guess. We still have Jared Leto kicking around in weird, that kind of crap DC universe.
Yep.
And then we've got Joaquin doing his thing. It's just... I was very surprised with that play at the end. Did that surprise you, or did you think that that's what this was?
Hollywood loves money, man. That's all I can say.
Yeah.
Like, Hollywood loves money. If something's successful and they feel like they can bleed it dry, then they'll do that. So that's the reason why I feel like we're seeing a sequel to the Joker. That's why I feel like we're going to see a sequel to the Batman. There's enough people out there that are screaming restore the Snyderverse, so that's why we're going to get the Flash. That's why we're going to get Aquaman 2. That's why we're going to get, I don't know, Who knows what they're going to petition for next? We'll probably get a whole trilogy of Superman movies with Henry Cavill. I've got Shazam, that's being made as well. Like there's other films out there. So what I feel like they're going to do is through the Flash film, which is going to be the Flashpoint paradox, where spoiler alerts for the Flash, but he's basically going to travel to alternate dimensions. I feel like we're going to see these film universes pop up in each of them, and then they'll be able to say, this is Earth 1, that's Earth 2, that's Earth 3, that's Earth 69.
Yeah.
I feel like we're going to get that. So I feel like they can give themselves the scope to do whatever they want. You know, they've realized they didn't pace it out or set up the supporting characters and the characters enough like the Marvel Cinematic Universe did. So I feel like they've just gone, look, we own these properties, we want to make these into movies. Let's just do it. You know,
throw it all at the wall.
Yeah, I mean, like, there's a highly successful Flash TV series. There's a highly, like, Gotham was quite successful. There's Arrow. There's the Superman TV series. Like, they're still making TV series and making, movies on top of that sort of thing. So I feel like, Hollywood loves money.
Yeah, I mean, let me ask you this, because I have my answer. As good as this film was, are you excited for a sequel? Because I'm not at all. That tagline just pissed me off. Like, when we saw Barry Keoghan's, uncredited Joker, very clearly the Joker, even though he's credited as, I don't know, random cellmate number 2 or something.
Yeah.
It just got me the opposite of excited.
I tell you what, this is my biggest complaint, I'll say that about this film, is that I feel like we had 5 endings too many, and I feel like that tease felt like Warner Brothers going, look, this is probably still going to be a successful film, but let's just chuck the Joker in there. And Reeves going, I don't really want to do that, and them going, look, just put him in. We've got this actor, up and comer. We'll make him, have a little line and snippet and stuff. And like Batman Begins did a really good job of, at the end they said, hey, we've found this new psychopath, and then they gave him the Joker playing card.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, that was enough of a tease. That was enough to go, wow. And in this, they could have cut it of, like, you've made a friend in here. They tried to make a clown out of you. Something like that. Could have left it at that. Don't need the cackle. Don't need the, close-up of his mutated Jokerish face. We could have had a little subtle tease, and that would have been enough for us to go, whoo.
Yeah, yeah. How different do you think this film would have been had it continued down the path of the Batfleck? Which is, when this film was first announced, even with Matt Reeves as director, it was still Affleck, I believe. At first he was signed on to direct, and then Reeves took over, but Affleck was still the Batman at that point, unless my memory's wrong. That's a completely different film.
Listeners, if you want to go over and listen to movie reviews in 20 Qs, I am covering... I feel like I'm on an episode at the moment because we covered a lot of this. I even petitions that I would have enjoyed a Ben Affleck and Jim Carrey as the Riddler. I would have liked that.
Oh, that'd be fucking dope.
That would be amazing. Not the Riddler that we know, but Jim Carrey now, the disheveled, the seen some shit dude. Almost like the Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind Jim Carrey, or the Man on the Moon Jim Carrey. Like, take that weird, broken Jim Carrey, chuck him into that, have him, have that sort of feeling of iniquity, or, no self, basically lack of, self-confidence and all that sort of stuff. Jim Carrey could easily swallow that up and have that going up as a sniveling villain against Ben Affleck, who's obviously as well seen some shit and doesn't know why he's still doing this. But yeah, I would have loved to have seen that. What about you? Reckon that would have worked?
That sounds amazing to me. That sounds absolutely incredible. That's what I was going to say. I think even though this is about a young Bruce Wayne, this story just as easily works with an old kind of end of his rope Bruce Wayne. Yeah. Like, I think that this absolutely would have worked done like that. And man, Jim Carrey would have been fucking great.
It would have been meta as hell, like, we know he played this over-the-top crazy version of the Riddler. To have him come back and play a different version of the Riddler would have been like, what the... This is something else. The one awesome piece of trivia that I'll add to that as well is that Paul Dano's glasses were the same glasses that Jim Carrey was wearing in Batman Forever, which I've just seen on the internet today, and I thought that is pretty outstanding.
That's a nice touch.
Like the glasses he was wearing before he became the Riddler, when he was still, just this nerd, type version of himself, the Jim Carrey one. Yeah, that was good. Hey, let's talk about score. What do you think about the score, Billy?
Let's do it. You're ticking off some Billy bingo, mate. I was going to get to the score. I've seen a lot of people raving about this score. A lot of people I really, really respect. Paul from The Countdown, who's a big score head, much like me. I've seen him raving about this score. I liked this score. I didn't love this score. I thought lots of it was very nice. I liked the more kind of romantic Batman Catwoman theme. Holy shit! Look at it in the chat. What are you doing here, mate?
Which one of you two is La Wingarata?
the rat with wings?
The Ratolado.
I think you'll find it's La.
Oh, La
Rata something.
No, you made a mistake, mate. It's L.
Even I know that.
Well, what did you think of the movie, Tove?
I was soundly positive on it. Yeah. I enjoyed myself.
Yeah.
I was expecting to like Arpats because Arpats, quite frankly, fucking rules.
Yeah. We've covered that, mate.
Yeah, the guy was good.
If you were here 33 minutes ago, you'd know that we spoke about Arpats.
Billy blowing his load.
Yeah, Arpats was great. We were just talking score, mate, which I know is one of your favourite things when I talk about.
Some of Giacchino's best work in years, I would say, Billy.
Well, that's what I've heard. That's where I was getting. I've heard that, and I liked the score, but I didn't love it. I liked a lot of it. The main theme I found extremely distracting because it is just the first 4 opening notes of the Imperial March repeated. So every time it played, I just kept in my head going, do the rest. Do the rest of the march. Because it's just...
So it should have just been full Nirvana the whole time.
Yeah, just Nirvana the whole time.
Dun. Like, that's it. Repeat it. And I'm like, this is the Imperial March, bro. Like, it's good and it works, but just play the rest of the fucking march.
Mate, Jaws. 2 notes, all you need.
Yeah. Yeah.
What more do you want?
So you enjoyed the score, did you, Tove?
I don't know. Who cares about score?
Exactly. I brought it up just to troll him, but he's gone fucking full fucking rant on it.
Good stuff. Sam, I know you liked it.
I did.
Billy, did you like it?
Did I like the bat? Well, I guess we're kind of at that point. Do you have anything else to add, Sam?
Yeah. I haven't even talked about what I thought about the score.
Okay, well, what did you think of the score?
Fucking terrible. It literally... It was amazing. Look, the production level on this film was awesome. I liked how well it was shot. I liked the use of score. I liked everything around it. Favorite scene by far was All Real, which I found amazing to read the trivia about, which is the gunshots in the hallway. So they basically gave them the guns with the blanks and said, okay, we've got one chance at shooting this. Let's go. And nailed it.
How much time have you spent talking about close personal friend of mine, Greg Fraser?
We haven't yet, mate.
Good
Lord.
So
let's do that while you're here. The cinematography is great. Like I said at the start, there's a lot to like about this film, and everything I like, I do really, really, really like. I don't think it's an amazing film, but I think lots of it really works, and the cinematography is one of those things. It's a good looking film.
Mm.
Do you know how, to get nerdy about it, do you know the lengths they went to get the look that they got?
What are we talking lengths here? Are we talking like Zack Snyder buying up all those stupid fucking lenses for...
Well, kind of, except this movie looks good. So the film was shot digitally.
I would not have guessed that, actually.
So then it was transferred to celluloid, run through a bleach bypass 7 style, and then transferred back to digital, to get the grain and, whatever film wankery shit that they were after.
Was that done...
He says film wankery while going on the biggest film wankery rant I've ever... Nerd!
I'm comfortable with who I am, Sam.
Do you know, was that done prior to or after adding digital effects?
That I can't tell you.
Okay.
I wasn't there.
That would be interesting to know, actually, because that would make
I don't think there were
difference.
any digital effects, mate. They just did it all.
Everything's fully real.
Bolted a camera to that Batmobile and we're like, have at it, Arpats. Yeah. No, not even a stunt driver. Not even a stunt driver. Yeah. You've got to do it.
Arpats didn't even know they were filming. He was just really pissed at Colin Farrell.
I'm kind of pissed at Colin Farrell.
Why is that?
People who are not sickeningly handsome need jobs too. Let's not put fat suits on the most handsome man on earth and let some some not movie star looking people have a fucking job.
Okay.
You know what?
Okay, hypocrite alert, but I didn't mind it. But man alive, do I want to find Jared Leto in an alley and beat the crap out of him for doing that Gucci movie. You know, like making himself ugly and fat suited in that. You can't take that away from us. You can't, but Farrell gets a pass. That's basically what I'm saying.
Here's the thing for me. They just made Colin Farrell look like Richard Kind when Richard Kind is a person who exists. He's an actor who hasn't worked in years. Richard Kind could have smashed this role.
That's a good point.
If you don't know who I'm talking about,
he was a lot
Richard
of fun.
Kind. Colin Farrell was
a lot of fun.
Although he was doing a DeVito impersonation. Like, I saw...
Dude, I watched Batman Returns literally the day before this, and there was not a lot in common with those penguins.
Not DeVito as the penguin. But if you close your eyes and listen to Colin Farrell talk in this film, it's DeVito's regular voice. Like, I rewatched a Friends episode recently where DeVito guest starred as a stripper, and I swear...
And he was an over-the-top Italian mobster?
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
I swear Colin Farrell is just channeling DeVito's voice in this film.
So you're saying
but ignoring the penguin.
So you're saying the actor playing a New York gangster Italian did a New York gangster Italian voice. Is that what you're saying?
Shocking.
Wow. Which is Danny DeVito's default voice because he's an Italian New York. Yeah, wow.
Yeah. I know, it's crazy, right?
Man. You also sounded like Robert De Niro and Joe Pesci.
How am I funny, Sam?
Yeah. Go get your fucking shoebox.
How are you scoring this then, Sam?
I'd be remiss if I didn't bring up my score, if I didn't use the same score I gave on my own podcast. So I'm going to give this 12 out of 10.
12 out of 10.
I'm joking. It's a 9.
9.
I just threw up the hyperbole just to annoy Topher. Didn't really get much of a bite.
It worked. I flinched.
Just cringe. No, it's a solid 9 for me. Like, as far as comic book films go, it's a 9. As far as film goes, it's probably about a 7 or an 8. So, yeah.
Okay, yeah. So, I mean, Topher then, while you're here, just like stealing our thunder, what are you scoring this film? I haven't really spoken to you too much about this.
Yeah, I dug it. I would say 2 hours in, I was like a very solid 7, probably knocking down the door of an 8.
Right.
I wasn't as into the third act of the film. I probably came back to a soft 7.
Yeah, I'm exactly the same score. I'm a soft 7. I think this film is, as far as 7 goes, it's closer to a 6 than it is an 8 for me. And like I said, I actually didn't feel the runtime at all. It's like, that's not the issue for me. I think it comes down to the screenplay, honestly, of the film, which I think is just a little bit weak. Like I said, I don't think it warrants its runtime because this is not a film that really has anything to say. It's not a film that develops its characters. I think it cares about its characters, and that's nice. But
he literally goes into the light building. He's got a fucking flare.
He's got a flare, and they're following after him. He's chosen not to be vengeance, he's hope.
Sam
Liberty. He's the Statue of Liberty, man. Come on.
I'm sorry, but the voiceover in the final scene is one of the weakest bits of writing in the history of cinema. It is fucking cheese. It is just melted cheese. That entire thing about being hope, it was weak, man.
I'm definitely here enough for a sequel, even without them putting in a post-credit scene before the credits rolled.
I liked that it was part of the film and not a post-credit scene because I would have fucking hated to have sat through 10 minutes credits to see that scene.
It just shouldn't be there. It gave me the raging irrits.
That's exactly what I said to Sam. I said that.
And you know that I'm totally here for our guy, Barry Keoghan.
Yeah, he's the man.
Oh, yeah, he's fantastic. The first thing I thought of was killing as a sacred deer.
Yeah, give me the Joker with a bowl of spaghetti threatening the Batman. Who does not want to see that?
I don't know if it's just because my expectations were wrong, but I did not walk into this expecting a franchise film, even though it's the Batman. There's been nothing but talk about how this is standalone and DC is moving towards standalone films. And then when that scene came up, I shat my pants with rage.
That's extreme.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm sorry for you and everyone.
It could have been the spicy wings I had at the cinema.
Some poor motherfucker had to clean your seat, bro. That's fucking horrible, man.
Billy's like, I used to have your job. Your turn.
Oh, it's true. I once walked into a cinema and a dude was having a cheeky wank. Have I told you that story?
I think I was in the cinema where that happened.
I think
you were the dude.
It was
It's my special seat.
It was Casino Royale, actually.
I mean, fair enough.
So the cinema had only just opened. I'd only been there a couple of weeks.
What do you
Yeah, Craig coming out of the water.
That's as awkward as the time you called in sick to go to the same cinema, sat down, and your boss was next to you.
Yeah, that was not a good day, and that was in the gold class cinema as well. So we were literally like, there's a row of 4 seats. The entire row is only 4 seats, and you've got her husband, herself, then me, and an empty seat.
You fucking moron!
Come on, Billy. The seat was not empty, was it? Like how much candy was on that seat?
That was a bad day.
Were you sat in there and then she came in, or did you walk in, see her and go, "Oh fuck it, I'm going to get fired anyway," and sit?
Yeah, no, I was sat down first and then she came in. She was actually on leave that day. I was not. I had written on my whiteboard that I was at a meeting.
Holy shit.
Because I used to work like with nobody else around me, so I just had this whiteboard and I would just write whatever I wanted on it, at a meeting. It was great until that day.
All right, fellas, I'm gonna go watch some more sport, but it was a pleasure to catch up with you.
Thanks for popping in, mate. You have a good one.
See you guys.
Bye.
Well, I think that just about closes us out on the Batman. Unless you have anything else to add before we were rudely interrupted.
Yes, how rude. No, nothing more. Yeah, I mean, I've got other thoughts, but as I said, you can go listen to my own podcast.
Well, why don't you give your podcast a plug, mate? Where can the people find you?
I don't know. Search out movie reviews and 20 Qs. I'm sure Billy will put a link down in the show notes, or you guys are already listening. But go check us out. We take a movie, we ask 20 questions about it, have a hell of a lot of time doing it. So yeah.
I mean, definitely check it out. If you're listening to this show, you already know how much I love Sam and his show and his wife and Liz. They're all great. I've had them all on. Now I need to close the infinity gauntlet of MRITQS. I need to get Kahu and Machu on this show as well.
Oh, I would love to hear what movie they would pick, and I would love to hear you talk. Have you done Office Space? Because Kahu would always do Office Space.
I haven't, but it's one of my favorite films.
Okay, yeah. If you do Office Space, get Kahu for that. And if you are going to do a film with Machu, do Commando. It's his favorite film of all time.
I've never seen Commando, so...
Yeah, I know. There goes your other Billy Bingo catchphrase. Never seen it.
Never seen that. You're always ripping on me for that. But thanks again for joining me, man. This has been awesome. Next week, I'll be joined by Paul from The Countdown, doing a recap of the Oscars and talking about Power of the Dog. Jane Campion film. She's obviously in favour at the moment, so...
The massive rise and fall of a New Zealander that lives in Australia, so we're now making her an Australian. She's said some pretty horrific things about the Williams sisters.
Williams, she's getting cancelled.
She's getting cancelled, and you can see the sentiment or the intention of what she was trying to make, but why? Why'd you say that? What?
Yeah.
I'm not going to defend her at all. It was bizarre.
No. It was a very, very silly thing to say. And here's the thing. The reason Paul and I are doing Power of the Dog is because, I expect that that's going to be the winner for Best Picture. That's certainly the favourite, but now I don't know if that's still the case.
That's a real good question, is when does Oscar voting close? And is this enough to affect people? Because I don't think it is. I think most, woke white people in Hollywood probably don't care what she said, so... Yeah.
Probably, yeah. So I guess we'll see what happens there. In the meantime, if you want to get in touch with me, you can do that at wewatchedathing.com or wewatchedathing@gmail.com. You can find me on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, all under the handle at wewatchedathing. If you want to help support the show, you can do that at patreon.com/wewatchedathing, and I'll catch you next week.
And I'll be back for Morbius.